Hey, BassGeek here. We're going to be talking about the Finesse double Fluke rig. Don't call it a donkey rig, Jack. Okay, guys, so we've all heard of the double Fluke rig, right? Using standard flukes, using those bigger flukes. Yes, there's a certain company that started calling them a donkey rig because Fluke is a brand of soft jerkbait. So other companies don't like to call the double Fluke rig the double Fluke rig. But since it's been called the double Fluke rig, since there was a double Fluke rig, just call it that, okay? You don't have to put it on packaging and get sued, but you know, it's not a donkey rig. Who come up with a donkey rig? All right, so I've got a little twist on the double Fluke rig, and I am actually using the Stealth Shad by Bass Munitions. Now, guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. Richard is doing good. He is back at work. His lungs cannot stand the chemical smell and stuff of working in the shop doing baits. I don't really know what this means for Bass Munitions. Richard does have another full-time job, and he is doing exceptionally well at that. So, you know, hang in there. I'll let you know any sort of updates. Of course, I've got a stock of them, so I'm going to use them. The other bait you can use, which this is just a 3-inch, and it's for the Damiki Rig, yet another bait or rig that is, you know, named after a specific company or bait. So the Damiki Rig is what these are actually meant to be. So you can actually use the Damiki Armor Shad or any sort of small, anybody that makes them 3-inch, you know, jerk baits or Damiki sort of little shad baits. I think even Yamamoto makes a shad-shaped worm that you could use. So any of those baits, you could actually cut down a Fluke more than likely and use it. It's going to have a little bit of girth to it, the Fluke will. These are a little skinnier. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about when, where, and how, and I guess why, I use a Finesse double Fluke rig. Okay. So, once your shad spawn in the post spawn of the bass spawn, so once the shad spawn is over, eventually those shad do exactly what bass do. They hatch, and all of a sudden you have some small little shad. Now, over, you know, the year, you'll see a lot of times the reason why bass are keyed a lot on those small shad is because those are, you know, first of the year yearling shad. Now, you will see they will actually begin to move out after they hatch, after they grow. They'll ball up, they'll move out with other shad. You'll have those small shad, and the bass will start keying in on them even during the summertime. So, you know, if you don't have, you know, big gizzard shad, or if you have an abundance of your smaller threadfin, or, you know, just regular shad, this, when, you know, middle of summer, when they start chasing those shad and you start seeing them chase those really small 2- and 3-inch shad, this is when this rig really pays off. Now, I do rig it up 2 different ways. I do rig it up weightless on a spinning reel, okay? A spinning combo, you want a medium, heavy power, fast action rod. So you're going to want to rig it up. Generally, I'm going to throw it on no less than 10-pound test. Now, one of the things I like to do is be able to move this fast and keep it in the water. So that's why I actually rig it up most of the time on this setup right here. I'm trying not to get these stuck in my face. But This rig right here is 12-pound test. This is one of the Sticks rods, and guys, if you haven't seen the Sticks lineup, make sure you go check them out. It's one of my good buddies, Travis Moran. He's part owners in this company, and I love their setup. Of course, they've got the measuring board on the rod itself. They have them numbered. They have a complete set of 6 rods. You can actually get the complete set for $100 off. So buy 5, get 1 free. And these are great rods. If you're just starting out and you don't know what rods and what setups to get, these tell you what baits you should be throwing on each rod, what type of cover you're fishing on each rod, and what type of setups you can throw on each rod. It is very beginner friendly. I don't know anybody else that does it out there. Sticks, there is a link in the description. I'm not sponsored by them. They just sent me a set of them and let me use them, and I will tell you, I am so incredibly impressed with each and every one of these rods. Actually, last year, a combo that I did, which was for a top water combo, was the I believe the number 3. This is the number 4 that I'm using, and the number 3 coupled with an SLX DC was probably my standout best combo that I'd put together all year. Now this rod is a 7/6. It's very long, which I like about this, and I'll explain to you why. 7/6, medium heavy, but it is a moderate action, so it's got some really good tip to it, which allows me to cast these light lures. Now I like to put them on a belly weighted hook. This is a Hayabusa. This is a 1/16 ounce 1/0 hook. You can get away with a 2/0 hook on these. 3/0 is probably going to be a little too big, but this is a 1/16. You can go up to a 1/8, really get it down and really work it fast. But a 1/16 is kind of my go-to, and this is my favorite. Now guys, for the most part, I leave the hook exposed, because what I look for when I'm using this is if I'm out and I'm fishing and those bass are busting and they're chasing those little shad, okay, match the hatch is when you want to use this. So, you know, you've got a 4 or 5 inch, you know, jerk bait, soft jerk bait, that's not really matching the hatch. But boy, when they get into chasing those little shad, you cannot beat this. So let's talk about how I tie it up. As you can see, basically, again, what I said, and this is a 6-3 to 1. So you don't want to overpower it. You don't want to go any faster than those mid 6s, 6-3, 6-5, 6-8. You can get away with a 6-7, but, or I mean not a 6-7, a 7, low 7, 7-1, 7-2 to 1. But I would very much suggest staying in that 6-3 to 6-8 range, or you'll be popping them out of the water. Now, like I said, the reason why I like them weighted is I can get them deeper, move them slower, or I can move them faster. And a lot of times when they're chasing, the speed is the key. You want to get them fast. But basically, all you do, guys, this 12-pound test fluorocarbon, I use fluorocarbon all the time, is you just tie a swivel. And I'll tie one about 2 foot, and then you tie another swivel and just let it free slide, and I'll tie it, and I want it about 1 foot long. So you can see about how far they are. And I'll show you the action in this. Casting it is super easy. Like I said, if you're going to use another weight rod, if I was going to do this on a bait caster, it's definitely going to be a medium fast action. Where this is a moderate tip, it allows me to get away with it. Now, I like the 6.5 that this is. I believe it was a 6.5, 7.6. My dyslexia kicking in there. 7'6" rod, because it allows me to make a long cast when I see those fish busting. That's a big key when they're out there chasing. You want to try and figure out which direction those fish are headed, and you want to be able to cast out in front of them. All right, so I think that covers the rod reel line, even the hook and the bait setup. Let me go show you exactly how I actually cast and retrieve this bait. All right, so we're going to talk about retrieve, guys. There's two different ways you can do this. You can see I've got some laydowns over here. Now, if you're throwing it around cover, bury the hook, okay? If you're throwing it around cover, bury the hook. But if you're throwing at fish, which is what we're kind of talking about today, if you're throwing around busting fish, fish that are in open water chasing shad, then there's no need to bury that hook. And the big thing is, the reason why I like to throw it on a bait caster with weights is that I can throw it, you know, I can really throw this thing and move it quickly. And a lot of times when they're chasing, and you'll see basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to really just get this thing to moving. I want it just below the surface, and I want it twitching. And I'll show you what that looks like in the water here in just a minute. But you can see I can really move this bait. I can really get it to twitch. It's almost like walking the dog, to be honest with you. Now, the other reason why I like to use it with some weight on it is because I can throw it out there. I can let it fall a little bit. So I can let that bait drop just a touch. And I can really work it. Really work it back a little bit deeper. So I'm just lifting up with this retrieve, where before I'm keeping my rod tip low and I'm just really twitching. And this one, it's just like something's chasing them to the surface. So when they're chasing those small shad, think about the Finesse double Fluke rig as an option, guys. I'm telling you, you will catch a double on this. When one comes up and hits the first one and that other one's twirling around, when they're chasing, when they're grouped up and they're feeding like sharks, this could catch you two in a row, which is another reason why I like to throw it on a bait caster with 12-pound test, because it does happen. Okay, as always, questions and comments in the comments section below. You guys know I love to talk about fishing with you. As always, like it if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you ring that bell when these videos come out. Guys, share the pictures, if you have them, of you either in BassGeek wear or you catching a fish on something you learned to do from this channel. I will share them on my Instagram. I would love to share them on my Instagram. And, you know, we may even figure out a way to share them during the video somewhere. Anyway, all that being said, you guys rock.